what they're doing wrong is they're not really taking time to understand your business. I got tired of being lied to.
Hey, I'm your host Karl from Beyond the Toolbox, and today I'm here with Partee, founder of Skyview Partners, Skyview Roofing, and Stampede Marketing that you just started. So let's just start out with, who are you, Lee?
Well, I'm a believer in Christ, first and foremost, follower of Jesus. I'm a husband, and I'm a father of 8 kids. Getting ready to have our first grandchild from one of those kids here in the next 30 days, so we're excited about that.
Nice.
Serial entrepreneur. I tend to have more ideas than I have money sometimes. So, but I started Skyview Partners as initially as a consulting group, and it's become more of a management type group where we manage our other things that we do. We bring all of our admin and all of our leadership team to Skyview Partners, and then we manage down to Skyview Roofing, which we do residential and commercial roofing projects there. And then we did just launch Stampede Marketing through a partnership with a good friend of mine. Nationwide marketing company. We have full back office for anything you might need, from a website being designed to running very sophisticated ad campaigns to strategy for your marketing and your branding. And that includes media, so we can come out and film and do video and get it all edited so you can look, as you know, if you're a small company, you can look like your biggest competitor, and we try to do that in an affordable way, and have some other things going on that we're in development. So working on a project that would really go after a large section of the commercial real estate market. And my passion outside of work in God and my wife and kids is golf. So I've been working on a golf brand as well,
Oh, wow.
and possibly some other things around that aren't just the golf brand that I can put on TikTok. It's looking to possibly grow another business out of that. So busy guy. Um, I enjoy work. To me, it's like some people enjoy their hobbies. I enjoy coming to work every day and trying to do things to not only help, expand the kingdom, but help provide for my family. And our mission statement across our entire organization is to bring hope to anyone that we encounter, and we try to live by that and operate by that.
Yeah, 5 businesses is nuts. Amen to that, though, that first part. But yeah, 5 businesses is nuts. Why'd you even
I
start
couldn't.
marketing?
It's not 5 businesses that Lee is doing every single day. It's Lee working with some really good leaders and really awesome teams, and I just get to kind of be the guy that says yes or no to certain ideas. Um, I certainly don't operate in all 5 businesses every single day. It's more of I deal with the leaders, and the goal ultimately for me, from a career standpoint, is I'm not far away from 50. And by the time I'm 55, I just want to be managing the leaders in the different verticals that we operate in, and they can manage the vertical they're in charge of.
So, what made you want to start a marketing company?
Um, I got tired of being lied to. You know, a lot of people out there, they charge you the retainer. They run up your credit card on ad spend. Today, I got hit from one group already, $600. And we're not really getting relevancy and results for that. We're actually working with our partner to like cancel that contract so we can bring it all in house. There's that issue. I got tired of getting lied to and not getting results. I got tired of dealing with guys that present themselves in one way, and then you find out they're, you know, working out of their mom's basement or their garage or their spare bedroom versus being a full-blown company that as they present themselves to be. A lot of these guys are very singular focused, where it's we do this for this type of industry, and we wanted to be more of a partner in marketing. I'd always planned to have a marketing company. It's probably 3 years down the road, but God opened some doors, and this friend of mine and I have been talking off and on for about 18 months, and he came to me with an idea, and I said, "Yeah, let's do it. It's too good to pass up." He gave me the Godfather offer. It's too good to refuse. But we love them, and our team. Our internal marketing person is now leading that team. Her name's Gabby, and so we're excited. We're going to see
We'll
where
be
it goes.
hopefully seeing Gabby here in a future episode, which I also wanted to ask. So you weren't seeing results, and you've consulted with other people for sure. So like, what have you seen in terms of what have agencies done wrong? Like, and I understand like $600 no results, but like to
I
dig
think
deep
what they're
into.
doing wrong is they're not really taking time to understand your business.
Okay.
And I think a lot of these agencies, especially like one person, two person, three person agencies, they are they're all, and I think for podcasts this works great, right? But they never want to come sit down with you face to face. They never want to have a real conversation, get to know you. They're not really building relationship, they're building transactional volume. And what makes my entire career, I am a huge proponent of relational sales. And I teach
Absolutely.
that to people, I teach that to our sales guys, our sales managers. It's I much rather have a relationship than a deal. Now I understand transactions have to happen, right, in order to everybody to make money, but I'd much rather not close a deal and be able to pray with. Like yesterday, we had a guy. I ended up praying with him more than worrying about the deal, and so it's more about building the relationships out and really structuring a company that cares for the clients, rather than just like I can do this latest greatest thing and it's going to cost you $5,000 retainer and all this ad spend. You know, we really want to build relationships that are long term, be part of the growth of the companies that we get involved with, and have measurable results around that.
So it was no personalization. They didn't know anything about your business. They were just
No,
taking your money.
we're just going to run ads. Okay. And I think that's where a lot of, you know, I think you need to classify more too, like what is an agency, right? Uh, an agency, in my view, is a company that is fully staffed, can meet your every need, is learning about your business, targeting your campaigns and targeting your strategy around your business, your goals, what you're looking for. Not just, hey, pay us this money and we'll run some ads and you'll get leads. Like, it's hard to quantify that. The other thing I think that agencies get wrong a lot, especially again the smaller guys. I'm not trying to be negative, but the smaller guys that are doing stuff off their laptop at a Starbucks or wherever they're located, they are truly not understanding the better KPI. So what I mean is they'll run all these ads and you might get, according to them, you might get 100 leads. Well, now your leads are only $20 a lead. Well, the reality is that $20 that I spent on those 100 ads, so $2,000, doesn't close a single deal because it's not really our ideal client profile. But in their mind, they've done a great job because they got your lead cost down. Whereas we focus on, yeah, we're going to generate 100 leads, but what does it turn into in actual dollars? So we really track, with our clients, like if you spend $2,000, how many of those deals actually went to a transaction? That's where we tell you this is what it costs per lead, because that's really what you need to know. I need to know what's my customer acquisition cost more than what 100 people clicking on a button on Facebook cost me.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I see a lot of companies who, I mean, the, they'll generate a bunch of leads and then just not be able to kind of follow through with that too. So like like you've consulted with people, has there ever been a situation where it has been the company's fault? Like because certain metrics that we'd want to track is like not only, close, but like set rate,
Sure.
close rate, demo rate,
Well, that's
all
the other
these
thing.
different
They
metrics.
tell you they're gonna produce 100. We'll use 100 leads as a token, right?
Right.
We're gonna get you 100 leads. Well, if your salespeople can't follow up and you're not getting, speed the lead and you're not getting, in front of these people as fast as possible, that's not the agency's fault by any stretch.
Hmm.
But at the same time, what we've experienced on the roofing business is we have significant sense of urgency and speed to lead, but it's not the right client. So, I think it's a mixed thing there. You need to have the marriage of both. You need to have the
Right.
guy that you're doing the work for needs to understand and equip his team to have sense of urgency and speed to lead, but you also got to be giving them leads that are their ideal client profile.
Right. Right.
We went through some of these video ads we run for the roofing company, and like the guys that were having issues with right now, they still have it says winter is coming. Well, it's July 1st next week. Winter's not coming, and we've asked that to be taken off. I can't tell you how many times they haven't done it. You can tell it's an AI generated ad because it still has brackets and like stuff in it. They haven't even done the effort to clean that up. So I think it's really majoring on the minors. The details matter. If you're going to put out something, you need to have it matter. The way it's worded, it's like we're the cheap option. And the reality is, when we show up to 8 out of 10 of these leads, we can't offer them the cheap option because their roof's so far gone that they need to do a full replacement. Well, then they're mad because they're like, well, I thought you could do a coating. Like, no, we can't do that because you should have done that 5 years ago. So, and I didn't know you 5 years ago. So it's a situation where, we did what we did because we wanted to cut our internal marketing costs amongst our brands. I'm going to end up saving over the course of the next year probably 63% of the core cost I was paying other agencies to pay, just by having my own in-house agency in partnership. And then we're finding ways to maximize, like if we had a $5,000 ad spend budget, we are majoring on the minors in terms of the details so well that we can get the same results for 2,500 in ad spend. Mm-hmm. So by really being targeted and being focused on what we're doing. So that helps our clients, and that helps guys like me not have to come out of pocket for stuff and I'm not getting any return off of it. And then ultimately that lowers my customer acquisition cost, that lowers my cost per lead that's valid, and all these other KPIs and measurement tools that we use. And we want to give that to other people. As a business owner, I would never want another business owner to have to waste money. It's bad enough in an economy. I know guys that have fleets of trucks. One guy I know, he had eight vans for his plumbing business, and last October he spent $5,800 in fuel. Okay. Well, 2 months ago when gas was $5 plus, he spent 15 grand. And it's like, that did nothing to improve his business. And his marketing company's still saying, well, you got to spend 5,000, you got to spend 5,000. I'm like, no, man, what if we cut 2,500 off that, still get you the same results? At least that's helping your business grow. And so as business owners, we have so many things competing for our money. And some of those are controllable and some of those aren't. Like fuel, that's not a controllable expense. We don't govern the cost of gas. If we did, everybody would pay 1 cent per gallon. But when gas rockets up, that affects your bottom line significantly. And especially if you maybe had a bad year or you're having a bad year, where am I going to come up, like that guy, where is he going to come up with an extra $10,000 a month just for fuel, and that do nothing to expand his business? Right. So we want to be a solution provider that's saying, hey, look, we understand the pressure you're under, but not only do we understand it, we're not just saying that. Our owner owns businesses that deal with the same problems you're dealing with, and he did this to help guys like him and you.
It's really unfortunate that some people like that put a bad name on agencies, like Stoy Media, like others that, and you don't have to believe it, but like there's other agencies out there. But I was also curious about KPIs because I feel like a roofing company owner out there.
To your point real quick, I'm not trying to give agencies a bad name.
Oh.
I think a lot of these guys that are running ads about you can fire your agency and you can just run it all yourself through AI. Like, you got to be very careful about that because you don't know what AI is really going to put out there, number one. Number two, all those ones that say fire your agency and run your own ads reach a point where they try to get you to hire them as your agency so they can do more complicated stuff. The fire your agency nonsense that's going around on Facebook to use different AI-based apps to run your marketing might be great for like the solopreneur. They're not great for real companies that need real help because they're ultimately going to lure them in with fire the agency and then try to get hired by them down the road when they reach a certain threshold. I don't think all agencies are bad. I think it's like the one rotten apple ruins the bushel, right? And unfortunately, the one rotten apple is what most people are buying into because just like roofing, rather than buying the premium product or the product that makes the most sense and gives you the most value, they go for the cheapest cost. And I think when you look at marketing, you shouldn't be looking at the cheapest cost. You should be looking at what brings you the most value, what has the best KPIs, what has the best things that are actually producing revenue for your company based on what you're spending.
I love that. And just to go off of KPIs, hey, what KPI should someone track in order to, obviously understand how to run their business, but also understand, is my marketing effort, not just agencies, like any marketing effort, working? Like what type of KPI should someone be tracking?
Well, the big one we track is ROAS, so return on ad spend, right? That's the first major KPI we track. We track what is the actual cost per lead,
Okay.
and then we track what is the actual customer acquisition cost. If you track those three things, you should have a pretty good handle on what you're getting out of your marketing.
What about like set rate, demo rate, close rate? Do you guys track any of those?
Well, customer acquisition costs would be your close rate. I think those things that you just mentioned, a lot of those are on the business providing the services side. So they should be knowing what their close rate is. I don't track that because well, we can and we have, but I'd rather see the business owner tracking that, so he's seeing it in real time what his sales team's doing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I meant like as a business owner, what KPI should be you should be tracking?
Oh, as a business owner, yeah. So the ones I mentioned, those three, your
Yeah.
cost per lead, your customer acquisition cost, and your return on ad spend. I think the marketing company should be tracking that on your behalf and
Mhm.
sharing that with you regularly. Our company has when we sign a customer, they get a customer portal where they can see that live.
Mhm.
Now, if you take it into what do I track as the owner of a roofing company, I track what's our close ratio. You know, I gave you 100 leads, how many of those did you close? When you close them, what profit margin did you maintain on those deals? Based on your close rate and your profit margin, we know that you should be doing X, in terms of volume. And if you're not doing X, what's the average price of the deal that you closed? And we track it pretty granularly across like that. I probably have a metric for anything you're ever going to do. Like if you went and pulled, signed a contract, pulled a report, did this, and it didn't close. Well, how fast did you pull the report? How fast did you get the estimate in the customer's hands? How fast did you respond to the lead to begin with? Like we're tracking all those things as well as the normative stuff that you'd want to track to determine close rate per sales guy, close rate per team, close rate per company, average profit margin per deal, per guy, per team, per company. We're tracking all those things on a pretty regular basis.
Okay, because you had me scared. I was like, you guys aren't tracking your set rate or your close
Oh,
rate,
no,
like none of
we track
those.
all that. Yeah, I misunderstoed the question.
No, it's
I
okay.
have
It's
a
okay.
I have a guy I know who's I don't know if he'd wanted me to call him a business coach, but he's a guy that you know runs masterminds and things like that. He has a great line. It's data over drama. If we track as much as we can track, and we got a guy telling us something that doesn't align with that data, we know that if the data's right, we know we got a problem with the guy,
Right.
right? And so we try to make it to where, hey, you're not doing this, and they're like, yeah, I am. No, clearly you're not because you're not hitting these numbers, and these are numbers you should be hitting. So we use it like that to internally moderate what these guys are doing.
And when we spoke last time, you mentioned stuff about insurance roofing. Are you guys still doing? I just wanted to switch gears a little bit more towards the roofing company. Are you guys still doing insurance?
We take those projects on. We don't prefer them.
Yeah.
Reason being is the insurance industry is shifting and is shifting in vast ways, and it's shifting in very quick timelines. So there's no longer the industry. I think the roofing industry did a really bad job of educating customers the last 15, 20 years because everyone thinks they can file a claim, pay $1,000 and get a free roof, and that's not what it is anymore. It's even if they agree to pay the whole roof, they're usually discounting the value of it, so you're getting a very small check up front. Most of these insurance companies have switched from a set deductible to a percentage of the value of your home that's insured. Here in Ohio, it's between 1% and 2%. In places like Texas and Florida, it's as high as 5, which means your deductible is more than the roof would even cost. So, and then they're not paying the back end where they cover the full thing. They're maybe only be paying what's called an ACV policy only versus ACV and RCV. So we have found that our approach to insurance job is if the customer wants to file a claim, that's between them and their insurance, and we tell them up front, you're going to have to pay your deductible, and we instruct them that don't be shocked if they don't pay for the whole thing, and just treat it like a coupon towards the actual cost of your roof. And we offer financing options and things like that where they don't necessarily come out of pocket for 20 grand, but reality is, yeah, it's a shifting business. The other issue with insurance right now too, a lot of times it's not file a claim on a Monday, adjuster there on a Wednesday or Thursday, you get your first check the following Monday, you get your roof on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you get your second check and everybody's happy. There's times we saw a deal earlier this year where they went back and forth with the customer, right? Customer had to get a public adjuster involved. They wanted to send out samples for repairability, and from the time they filed the claim to the time they actually got it settled and had some money to work with was like 4.5 months. So as a contractor, what am I supposed to do with that? They got a roof that's leaking, or they have to come out of pocket to pay for the roof, or I have to float that on my own credit line. And I'm not a bank, I'm a roofing company. So it's definitely a changing market. I predict, and others that I'm tied into in the industry at a pretty high level, the prediction is that in 18 to 24 months from now, most insurance companies will not cover wind and hail damage in their policies, and if they do, it will be a separate rider. You'll be paying probably double the amount of premium to have that, and then they're still going to fight you on what they pay out. So it's getting to a point where the insurance industry is almost going to force people to self-insure their roofs.
Yeah, it's a sad reality to think about. I don't know if it's totally going to go away, but it's definitely going to be like its own policy, which I even had to give a little antidote. Like I had a client who went to like a commercial insurance claim for a church, and that took a year. And
Yeah.
the roof was replaced, credit line. Like I just don't think insurance is going to like work anymore.
No,
It's
I don't
just
think it is either. Then, the other big problem is consumer debt is at an all-time high,
yeah.
right?
True.
Well, the big thing in the trades space, not just roofing, but trades in general, is, well, they can finance it. You can get them financed. You can finance it. You can finance it. Well, we have to remember that, I think it's every $20,000 adds a certain amount of money to a monthly payment, right? And so, like, yeah, they might be able to finance it. They might be able to get approved for the roof or the fence or whatever deck or whatever it is they're doing, but they still have to make that monthly payment. And right now, the American consumer is pretty stretched,
That's true.
and adding $200, $300, $400, depending on what it is, to their monthly budget for a payment, that's either competing with the car they need, it's competing with the kids' tuition they might need to pay, kids' activities, things like that, to where it's a harder number for them to swallow, even on a monthly payment basis. So we try to move with integrity as much as we can, and I would never tell someone to finance a project that they can't afford to pay for.
Yeah, that's a good thing for sure. I'm just thinking back to the solar industry, back when you'd
Yeah.
underwrite anything, and then it went bust.
Yeah, it went bust. A large part of that was because of the big beautiful bill that the current administration passed and signed. I'm in a lot of I would say Facebook groups around the industry side of it,
Right.
and there's requests every day like these people installed the solar system. The solar company is not around anymore. Who can come service the solar system?
Hmm.
Who can take the solar system off and put it back on so we can do the roof? It's and they're still having to pay on those systems because lenders back those, but the actual people that did the work or put the system on, they're not in business anymore.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it was because of the lenders, right? Like lenders went bust, and like, or what? It was like
Some of it was the lenders were making bad loans.
Yeah, so
Some
that's
of
what I
it
was like.
was some of it was just like when the mortgage crisis happened, a lot of bad loans is what led, in the way they were packaged on Wall Street, led to the mortgage bust. But the biggest thing is, in this year's especially, is the big beautiful bill kicked in and it stopped all the federal tax credits for solar systems for people's homes. And like here in Ohio, the state hasn't really adapted to where it has a really great tax credit program that incentivizes people to get solar. Now, it might be different in Texas, but I live in Ohio, so it makes it hard for me to sell solar. I mean, we had a solar partner that we had signed an agreement with that we could sell solar, and they would be doing the back end work of it. But they've closed that down, and actually, that company has started a roofing company. So, it's there's a lot of factors out there that the normal consumer doesn't understand, doesn't even know about. If they did know about it, they'd probably be more pissed off than they already are. And it's just a huge industry shift, both in the insurance, the solar industry, huge industry shifts in all those spaces.
It's unfortunate that it's so politically like challenged. Like there needs to be probably like a Democrat in an office in order for us to get solar back, which we'll have to see. But I was also curious about like if a roofing owner was starting. So like let's say a roofing contractor is watching this and they're starting a roofing company or thinking about starting. Where would you recommend they start? Would you recommend residential retail or like commercial?
Well, I would recommend they first start by really evaluating how crazy they might actually be. Number one. Number two, that's a joke, by the way. Number two, I think I would, if I was starting a roofing company today, I would make sure I really knew how to sell retail roofing. That's a whole different animal than selling insurance roofing.
Oh yeah.
And there's plenty of resources out there to really learn that. But if they're a sales guy that says, I'm tired of this, I'm going to start my own company, and they've been doing nothing but insurance, they better potentially switch to an all retail company first before they're willing to launch so they can learn that business and learn how that works. The other thing is I live in Ohio. I'm in Northeast Ohio. Not much going on here. There's a lot, but not like in terms of residential roof, like stuff that everyone's fighting for the same bone.
Yeah.
But for example, down in Columbus is huge and it's expanding and it's growing and there's tons of new construction going on. So you're getting fresh new supply every single year. So as time goes on, you're going to have fresh new supply of roofs that need replaced. Here, there's a lot of building going on, but it's not nearly what it is in Columbus. So I would really examine, like, what's my market actually look like? And what's the potential for this market to grow economically that can create a natural pipeline for what I'm trying to do? The other big thing, I think there's some other things out there that make sense. So, like, there's big new market out there is called roof rejuvenation, shingle rejuvenation.
I've heard of this.
Most of the products out there, you need to be very careful about who you align yourself with. A lot of them are just soybean oil based that just makes the shingles look nice and they make them bendy again. You need to find a really good product. We have an exclusive arrangement for our area here with a good friend of mine. It's a company called RejuvaRoofs.com. And what's great about them, they have something nobody else has. And in their product, they have a compound that actually reactivates the tar strips and reseals the roof.
That's
And
amazing.
we also has the ability to pull together. It'll draw the asphalt matting to where it can heal small hail hits and some other things. And with that, we offer a 10-year warranty on that. So for people that don't have the money to spend $20,000 on the roof, they might have the money to do a $6,000-7,000 rejuvenation, which can still get financed, and then at least they get 10 more years to figure out what they're going to do, whether it's leave the house, stay in the house forever and get a better roof down the road, whatever it is. The other thing I think that people should do if they're going to get into roofing today is at least explore commercial coatings. Not necessarily full-blown commercial tear-off replacement type stuff, but really explore commercial coatings because it's a product that in most markets you don't have to get permitted for. It's similar to the RejuvaRoof. It's a spray-on type product. You need to obviously get educated. You need to get into a product with a manufacturer to support you for that. We work with three different ones. Um, but, and if anyone wants more information on who we work with, they can contact me directly. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I think those are the avenues. The commercial coatings business has a growth track of 2.5 billion to 10 billion in about the next 6 years. So there's a huge market there. Rejuvenation, same thing. It has a very small footprint today, but because of the cost of everything constantly going up and materials, shingles this year have gone up almost 25%.
That's
You
true.
know, I look at it as if you're going to open a new company today, get into a product line that has a smaller footprint today that has room for growth as an industry, rather than just I'm going to be a guy that goes out and puts shingles on roofs.
I've
You
heard a lot of
know,
people say rejuvenation is like just it's snake oil. What do you think about that?
I think most of the products are, but that's why I'm saying be very cautious about who you align yourself with. We did a lot of research. I have a personal relationship as a friend with the lady that started Rejuveros. I knew about it before it ever came to market. You know, I've had input on it. So like, I think for the majority, yeah, most of them are snake oil. Some of the, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get sued, but several of the franchise options out there, it's you're
It's
not doing
not the
anything for these people except taking their money.
hmm. I mean, it's
Um,
smaller ticket. It's it's like new. It's a new thing. Oh, you don't have to replace your roof. We'll extend the lifetime 5 years for
yeah,
5K, and you don't have to replace it. And it's like,
yeah, and we can do that too, except our product actually does something that actually benefits the roof.
right.
It doesn't just oil it down and make it look pretty
Hmm.
and make your shingles go from brittle to pliable. And again, same thing. You got to be willing to say, hey, look, your roof doesn't qualify for this because you got to have a certain percentage of your granules still left. You got to have this, this, and this. Whereas most of these guys selling it, they're like, yeah, we can do it. Sure. And they go up there and spray it and take their money and move on.
Huh. Yeah, I'm quite curious about that industry. Like, is that stuff unsafe, or well, it's just soybean oil, like for the most
Well,
part?
it's soybean oil. Some of the chemicals that some people use have some issues. Um, the other reason we like the product that we're in is everything in it's biodegradable. So like it's
Hmm.
not going to kill your plants. It's not going to. I'm sure if
Right.
your
Yeah, you're
dog went
spraying
and licked it
this,
off.
and then it's gonna rain. It's gonna get
Yeah,
into it.
yeah. You don't want to be doing it on a day that thunderstorms are in the forecast, no matter what product you have. You want to have at least a good solid 24 hours from the time you apply it before the next rain, if possible. Our product, these people will go up there and tell them, it's fixed, it's ready, it's blah blah blah. We tell people up front, look, it's going to take 30 to 45 days for this to truly soak in and do what it's supposed to do. You
Hmm.
know, and get to where it's actually fixed the problem that you're having. Now, the other thing it does is it doesn't fix leaks. It doesn't fix um, your ridge vent from being detached from the top of your house. So we include with everything that we do in that rejuvenation side. We have what's called a roof tune-up. So we go up and replace the pipe boots on the toilet stacks. We go up and make sure that the ridge vent's properly installed and nailed down correctly, and we do a roof tune-up before we ever spray the product because we want to make sure that what you're getting is actually going to work.
I have heard of roof tune-ups. I've heard of it being like a low ticket, like what the HVAC guys used to do. What is a roof tune-up? And like, we don't have very
The
much
roof
time.
tune-up, real quick, is you go up there, you look at it. If the roof's older than 10 years old, you're looking at replacing what's called the pipe boots, which are the rubberized things that go over the little pipes that stick out of your roof.
Yeah.
Um, that way it's fresh, rubber, and it's not degraded and it's not going to get worse. You reseal that. You make sure the caulking all around, all that stuff's in there. That where caulking may have deteriorated over the years. You're I've seen houses where like the ridge vent's supposed to be flat, but on one end it's kind of like stuck up. So you go and you reattach that and make sure everything's secure. That's really what a roof tune-up is. If they have box vents that are damaged or rusted, you replace the box vents without taking off the whole roof. And you're careful about how you do that so you're not damaging the shingles.
Have you guys ever sold like roof tune-ups on Facebook ads? Like, has that ever been something you guys have done?
We're actually come back to our Facebook page in about 2 weeks.
Okay, because I was like, this is a low ticket type of deal.
Yeah, we're actually changing our strategy around how we advertise for the roofing company. So, what we found, because prices keep going up for everything,
Uh-huh.
we put in as an example, I put in a unbelievably good bid. We had a decent amount of margin. Not, we don't wax people on profit, but it was a good number, made sense. Premium product, premium system, everything this guy asked for, replacing all the wood decking because his stuff was like bad. And the call I get is, well, this other company is going to do it for $4,000 less, and I'm like, I don't know how, I I I did my best to sharpen that pencil, like I'm not sure how. Well, come to find out, it's a different shingle brand. It's a lower quality shingle. They're using very low quality underlayment. They're, they even mentioned they would put it on over the existing roof, which is a big no-no. They weren't looking to fix his wood, all this other stuff. And he took the wood off our quote just so he could compare it, and he could compare it, and they're like $4,500 less. And he's like, well, they're $4,500 less. I'm just going to go with them. I'm like, well, you're not getting the same thing. And so a lot in residential that we're seeing in this market, and I'm sure everywhere else, is residential shingle replacements is a race to the bottom with the consumers. And so we're working to completely redesign who our ideal customer profile is, and we're probably by next spring we're really going to be going after a higher end buyer and kind of be positioned as the luxury house roofer and protecting your asset, and working with people that are in $750,000 homes and up and have a certain level of income and have time in the home, stuff like that, where we can pull that data and really try to position us to with someone who's naturally aligned with understanding value rather than this guy's going to do it for $4,000 less.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe, I mean, I feel like maybe the consumer didn't know why it was supposed to be more expensive, maybe, but who knows?
Well, again, we talked about earlier the consumer issues, right? So, $4,000 less means, if they're getting it financed, $50 less a month. It means I'm not spending as much. I'm, whatever.
Right,
It's
right.
they're the average consumer in the average home in the United States that needs a roof is not concerned with a premium system. They're concerned with what's the cheapest I can do this for without having, and possibly without having to come out of pocket.
Yeah,
And
just to get it done.
that's not our ideal customer.
Uh-huh.
Those customers will most likely be calling another roofer in 5 years and asking, why is my roof leaking? And the people that are doing it for $4,000 less probably won't be around in 5 years.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta let the dog bite the cord and get shocked, so it
Yep,
understands not to bite the cord again.
that's right.
But I'll have to leave you here. Where could someone find you, Lee?
Well, they can find us at www.skyviewroofing.co is our roofing company, and our marketing company is www.jointheherd.com.
The herd. Nice. Stampede marketing, join the herd. Okay, I
Yep.
see it. All
We
right,
do
well,
everything around the ideal of Buffalo culture, and put that into every organization we work with. And I don't know why I'm fuzzy, but the that's just who we are. So jointheherd.co is our marketing company. One thing real quick on that before we go, any company that wants to know what's going on with their social media and their online presence, we offer a free report that turns out to be an 11 to 15 page report, and the first page of it's a report card, and it just tells them where they're at with what they're doing, and it also shows what their competitors are doing in their marketplace, and kind of offers some solutions and ideas around what they can do to fix it. So we do that for free for anybody. It's just filling out a form on our website.
yeah, I could totally link that down below, and I appreciate everyone watching this episode and more episodes to come. I'll link Lee's information, I'll link our information down below, and we look to see you